Someone who knows what being on the wrong side of the government is all about is with me in the studio. Admiral Vishnu Bhagwat, welcome to the News Hour. Tonight, it's an unprecedented night in terms of this development. General G.D. Bakshi, thank you very much for joining me in my studios in Delhi. Colonel Anil Kaul, thank you for joining us from Delhi as well. And Air Marshal P.S. Ahluwalia, former Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Western and Southern Command, thank you very much. Okay, let me start with a contrarian voice. Let me start by asking you, Air Marshal Ahluwalia. Shouldn't the government, and I know, Air Marshal, that the last time we spoke, you were firmly against the Army Chief and you were strongly believing that he's taking it to a level of brinkmanship which can positively be dangerous. But should the government of India not have seen this coming? A. And B, can the government, now that the issue is sub judice, act against its own chief?
Can you hear me, Honour?
We can hear you. Go ahead, Air Marshal.
Well, it's like this. The first thing I'd like to say is that it is already in the courts, or perhaps if what you're stating is right, it's in the courts. I think the legality of the issue may not be discussed at this stage. However, it's the intangibles that we have to consider. And the intangibles are such, firstly, that there is no question of having a personal thing, because the Chief of Army Staff or anybody at that level, he's on duty 27 by 365, if I've calculated the number of days right in a year. So therefore, he's always on duty. He's always representing the highest echelons of the country insofar as the national security is concerned. Now, in the system, that means in the military, we have a fail-proof, mostly a fail-proof system, in which case your redress of grievances is considered paramount. Which means that if you have a redress,
yes,
it goes right up the ladder, it goes at all levels, and you get so-called justice coming down to you. Now, perhaps your perception may not be the same as your superiors, if I might call them that, whoever it might be at whatever level, and you do not accept it. To my mind, it seems that you have lost confidence in your superiors. And similarly, I would put it that if the government finds that somebody has to go to court to get justice, that means perhaps the government also might feel that they have lost confidence. The other part I'd like to say is that as far as the government is concerned, there are many other criterias, there are many other intangibles that cannot be listed, because you've got to look at the macro level. I am sure that every day you get maybe hundreds of applications for change of date of birth. Why? Because date of birth is a very important ingredient in your career progression.
But may I just come in at this stage? I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I'd like to welcome Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst and columnist, joining us from Pune. But I want to ask you, General Vishnu Bhagwat, my mind goes back a long time when I interviewed you on the eve of your sacking, or was it? Just after you were sacked. Now, please don't mind my saying so. General V.K. Singh has done a slightly more smarter thing than you had, because when the petition challenging your sacking was filed by a retired wing commander, I don't remember his name. Retired general. I think the Supreme Court had said that you can't entertain a petition at the behest of a third person. Now, what General V.K. Singh has done, Admiral, is that perhaps looking at that precedent, he's gone to court himself. Has he done the right thing?
See, this is not a case of date of birth, as the Honorable Law Minister himself has said.
Yes.
There are no questions of facts. This is a case of a manipulated succession and a forced retirement and a slur being caused on the office of the Chief of Army Staff, which is a slur on the honor and integrity of the armed forces and the army. This is not an issue, because, and I'm quoting the Honorable Attorney General.
Yes.
The Attorney General's whole argument hangs by a thread which says that the line of succession determined by General J.J. Singh in 2006 and followed by General Deepak Kapoor, not very famous, I would say somewhat infamous, endorsing that line. Who has given these people 6 years ago the divine right of determining a line of succession? And the law minister goes on to say,
Sir,
may
I please, come in, because these arguments come in, but at the end of the day, there is a whole audience out there which will say, I mean, there is another point of view. This is not my point of view, but there is another point of view. And that point of view, and I want to get everyone in, then I'll come back and reopen this debate. That point of view says, General Bakshi, because I know you have strong views on this, can the prestige of an individual override the prestige attached to the institution that will unwittingly be tarnished if this whole fight carries on?
Arnab, what I would like to state unequivocally is, please go back for an answer to the lines of the Honor Code at the National Defence Academy. We will not lie, cheat or steal or tolerate amongst us those who do so. Now look at the accusation you have made against your Chief of Staff. You have accused him of the cardinal sin of lying. If he had accepted his date of birth as 1950, all of us in uniform, or those who have shed our uniform, were justified in asking him, did you lie to us? Did you lie to us? I think that is a seminal question of honor and integrity which most of our civilian friends do not understand.
Sir, but honor and integrity...
When you come to a question of truth and untruth...
Playing devil's advocate, sir. Honor and integrity are not the sole preserve of the armed forces. And therefore, the same principles that you speak...
But in...
Yes?
Arnab, I would just like to state that in the armed forces, when it comes to a question of honor, individual, unit, regimental or national, you are not supposed to count the cost. You are supposed to lay down your life.
I take your point, sir.
That is the difference between soldiers and civilians.
I take your point. And sitting next to me is Admiral Vishnu Bhagwat. And this question about Vishnu Bhagwat will go to Colonel Anil Kaul. Sitting next to me is Admiral Vishnu Bhagwat, Colonel Anil Kaul. And I remember at that point of time that, Admiral, when you were removed from your command, Colonel Kaul, he was removed by an abrupt and unceremonious withdrawal of quote-unquote presidential pleasure. And he was also charged many years back with quote-unquote deliberate defiance of the government. Do you think the government will go that far against General V.K. Singh now?
Arnab, first of all, thank you very much for calling me on your show in the company of very senior officers.
Thank you.
A chief, an air marshal, and General G.D. Bakshi, who was my senior at the NDA.
So,
maybe I represent the voice of what is today being called officer below general rank. The cutting edge, the people who go and get shut up, and the people who go and follow their leader to their deaths. Here is a leader who has taken the ultimate step in a very correct method of going step by step without violating any rule or regulation, since his aggrievement was not addressed by anybody in a very ostrich-like posture, by not giving any statement at any stage and using a oft-repeated MS branch cliche which the government uses in hundreds of applications on statutory complaints, that there is no substance in the complaint. Here there was substance, here there was evidence, and here there was a leader who said, I will not bend, I will not be coerced.
Yes.
And in so doing, he was arrogant to the point of professional competence, so much no more, as stated by Erwin Rommel, one of the greatest generals ever known in military history. In view of what I've said, I think he has done the right thing, and he has upheld not only the motto of the NDA, the motto, the prayer, as what General Bakshi mentioned,
now tell me, sir,
but the honor of the,
now tell me, sir, do you think the government can act against him? Coming to you, Tehseen Poonawalla, continue my line of questioning there. Well, I want a straight answer from you.
Arnab, I have not finished. Section 18 of the Army Act, Section 18 of the Army Act states very categorically that you hold your commission at the pleasure of the President.
Exactly.
Till some years ago, this was not negotiable and you could not appeal against it. Today you can appeal against it, and you have to commit a crime, a mistake, a disobedience, disloyalty, something to make you an accused in the parlance of the Army Act.
Sir,
Under
but
sections 1
sir,
to
these are matters.
69.
Sir,
there
I'm
is
sorry,
nothing
but
of the
these are
sort.
matters of interpretation. Sir, one minute, sir. You know, you are quoting the service rules. Tehseen Pulawala wants to come in. Before he comes in, I want to point out these are matters of interpretation. Because there is another case, because the law as to correction of birth dates stated by the Supreme Court of India in the Union of India versus Harnam Singh case says, and I quote, a government servant who makes an application, please listen to me carefully, who makes an application for correction of his date of birth beyond the time so fixed, therefore cannot claim as a matter of right the correction of his date of birth, even if he has good evidence to establish that the recorded date of birth is clearly erroneous. This is what it is laid out, sir. 1 minute, sir. This is the opposite perspective. This is what is laid out in the Supreme Court.
I'm saying that it is within the
erroneous-
time frame that has been laid
erroneous
down
in
by the
which
law.
record?
That is within 2 years of his commissioning, his regiment sent a certificate. The IMA sent a
Sir.
certificate. The AG's branch recorded it as said. This
Sir, but
MS branch,
from what I understand, the army rules debar any correction of date of birth after 2 years of joining the service.
But he did not. He
No.
did it before that.
Arnab,
It-
at
That
no
is given
stage-
amply.
Arnab,
1 minute.
Arnab,
That
please
is
allow
given
me.
amply in General Harvansh Singh's article in the Hindustan Times of only a